I think we were talking before about the tool time tag thing, so I'm kind of going to go around and kind of give you guys a quickie rundown of my favorite tools as far as working in the shop. Not necessarily for my job of doing maintenance and landscape work. You know, I got machinery and things like that. But I guess I wouldn't do much of anything, number one, if we didn't have the air compressor. My 80-gallon 2-stage 5-horse air compressor there. Wouldn't do much anything without that. And then, of course, I have pretty much all of my tools that I use continuously for body work in this box. Of course, I've got an assortment of blocks. Some are in here, some are in different areas, but definitely my favorite sanding block, that skinny paint paddle width one. As far as air tools go for sanding, I'd be remiss if I forgot to mention the DA sanders. That's a finish sander with a small orbit, and that's more aggressive with a larger orbit. Something that I have and I never use, almost never, ever do I use that air file. I can't say that I've never used it, but I almost never use it. I bought the Bondo Hog, the National Detroit Air Hog, or Bondo Hog, and you know, that thing is my tool of choice for rapid material removal. 8 inches versus 2 3/4. Yeah, that's long, but I think if I were going to actually purchase one, I'd purchase the, instead of the straight line, I'd buy the orbital one for trying to finish out long areas. That thing's good for a quickie knockdown of the filler, and that's about it as far as I'm concerned. Tools I use the most, everything in this drawer. Half a dozen die grinders with different tools on them: rust eater wheel, wire wheel, cutoff wheel, air flanger tool. This one's got a flapper disc on it. The 4-inch grinder here, that one's got 24 grit on it. I use that for grinding not necessarily welds, but larger material and shaping things. And the little 3-inch angle grinder, I have several. I use those to rough up metal for body filler, grind rust, finish welds, you name it. The little air drill, not so much, but I've had that since I was probably 20 years old, so I've had it almost 20 years. One of my favorite things to use in the shop, and definitely has saved me numerous trips to a welding shop and or fabrication place, repair shop, you name it, is that MIG welder right there. So probably number 1 and 2 are the air compressor, and then the MIG welder right there, and the plasma cutter, which is fairly new. I don't use it a lot, but let me tell you, when I need to use it, that's definitely a good one. That's a Cutmaster 52 by Thermodynamics. That will cut half, I believe, either cuts 1/2 inch or will sever 1/2 inch. I think that's a 1/2 inch, true 1/2 inch cut machine. It will sever 3/4 inch. I could be wrong on it. I've never had to cut anything that thick, but I wanted to buy a machine that was more than what I needed so that I wouldn't overwork it. And that welder right there will do 5/16 single pass. So that's a great machine. You can get a spool gun to do aluminum with that machine if you're so inclined. I think if I were going to weld much aluminum or anything intricate, I would probably invest in a TIG and learn to teach myself how to TIG weld. You know, okay, so air compressor is 1 and the welder plasma cutter are 2. Yeah, I have a lot of hand tools that get me a lot of things done. This panel beater here was a gift, and after going through it and making it work, this is my number 1 dent pulling tool here. I've used the stud guns and borrowed them from buddies that have them. I wouldn't trade a stud gun for this machine ever. It works too well. You can do too many things with it, and because I didn't have to pay for it, that's even better yet. When you're talking $1,000, $1,500, $2,000 machine, I'm pretty happy with what that does for me. You got 2 toolboxes packed full of tools and things like that, but those are everyday use items. None of those are my favorite. Those kind of get the mundane things done, like fastener removal and hammers to beat on things. My favorite cordless tool is that guy right there. Rigid tool, 1/4 inch impact driver. That thing will snap either a 1/4 or 5/16 grade 8 bolt. It will break it. It is that strong if you over tighten it. So that's for fastener removal. That's a #1 tool, along with the drill that came in that kit, and there's a circular saw and sawzall. The batteries last forever. They're just something that I like to use and use a lot. And this is going to get sort of ramblesome, but I like talking about my tools. So this bench right here is a welding bench. This was actually being thrown away along with several others like it from a fabrication shop that either wasn't using them or going out of business. I forget. One of my buddies went and got all of them on his roll-off wrecker and started giving them away to his friends because they were free. We got a 1/2 inch or 3/4 inch steel plate on top of this. You can't hurt this thing. And to have a vise welded or bolted onto something that heavy, you put a drive shaft up in that and press some U-joints out, beat ball joints out of a control arm. Anything you want to do, you're not going to hurt this bench. And I have another one here, and it's piled with stuff. But this one is old, old, old. This was in my grandfather's barn, who was a farmer. He passed away in the early 90s, but this was given, or my uncle took it, and when he passed away, I got it. It was the only thing I really wanted that he had, and sort of a keepsake. So this one sort of means something to me because it's sort of been passed on through my family. But you can tell how old this is. It's hot riveted together, and it's got that drawer on it right there, which would have probably been added later on. Since this was hot riveted together, this has some stuff welded to it. I mean, that latch to lock it up is welded on. And that big Colombian vise, you can't beat that vise. I don't use it a lot because this bench really isn't in a convenient place for this shop, but it's kind of what I got. So workbenches, heavy workbenches, when you're doing equipment work or anything that you really have to get medieval with, workbench is good. We have the drill press. Definitely not my favorite tool, but it beats holding the cordless drill when you're doing a lot of drilling, and heavier drilling at that, because that stuff's too hard on a cordless drill. So those are probably my top choices when it comes to stuff that I use in the shop. Of course, we have the glass bead cabinet right there. That's a small one. That's a Scat Blast cabinet made by Scat Blast in Canfield, Ohio. A lot of stuff I have is locally made, just because I've come across it, and you don't have to pay for shipping for stuff like that if you can go drive and get it, especially bulky, large items like this. But this thing is sort of the cat's meow, with the exception of the lighting and the fact that you got to change the lens protectors constantly. For cleaning up small parts, bolts, fasteners that you can't really replace that are factory, door hinges, I use the bejesus out of this thing. And the biggest problem that I ever have with it is humidity and moisture. And no matter, in the summertime it's not bad. In the wintertime, when that water condenses out of the air lines, it gets to be a real pain. It doesn't take much moisture to bridge that stuff up and freeze it up. So that's definitely, a tool that I love to use. And of course that's locked. And of course my assortment of paint guns, which I showed in a previous video not that long ago, so we're not going to go through that again. But the paint guns are definitely in my top favorites because I love to paint. I just love it. And I think I mentioned it earlier in this video or yesterday. If you've ever painted before and done it for any length of time, it's hard to give up. So that's something that I really like. And so I love those tools. I love all tools. I'm a tool hoarder, and I don't buy dozens and dozens of the same tool, but I'll definitely buy something if it saves me time on one or two jobs before I borrow it. I'm not a big tool loaner. I don't like to loan tools out because usually it ends up in me trying to go find that tool when I need it, because people don't look at it the same way I do. I value my tools, and they are my livelihood when I'm doing this kind of stuff, so no go on loaning tools. You know, of course, when it comes to maintenance, you got things like zero-turn mowers. That's not my favorite by any stretch of the imagination. That thing's like riding a dump truck. It rides awful. My favorite, and I'll have to turn the light on here. I don't have any light in this room, so we'll use a flashlight real quick, see if that'll give me enough light. I don't think it's going to give me enough light. This front mount 61-inch grasshopper with a 28 horse diesel in it, that's my favorite mower. That's my home mower that I use to do the house with, and it rides nice because the deck's out front, so it's not beating you to hell while you're on it. Of course I have, yeah, be better if I had lights on in here, but I don't. You know, a couple walk behind mowers, things like that. No shortage on equipment stuff, and of course, you know, things like the skid steer and stuff like that. And I guess I can't really forget, you know, the trucks. You know, the one I'm working on, the one that's two that are sitting outside, all my equipment trailers. I guess you learn to like tools more, not only because they save you time, but because they make you money, and when they make the money-making aspect easier and more productive, you tend to like them. You know, thus liking to have nicer lawn mowing equipment, or a nicer skid steer, or not necessarily a nicer truck. I guess you can pretty much do most anything with a truck, but I like being comfortable while I'm working, so I have nice trucks. You know, the less fatigued you get at work, the better you feel, and the more you get done when you get home, because I don't just go home and veg out. You know, I'm usually working until the sun goes down, a little bit after in the summertime. So those are pretty big things for me. Again, I'm probably rambling on. One thing I guess I forgot to mention when I'm talking about the welder and the plasma cutter. This isn't the best welding helmet. It's made by Lincoln. It's their Viking auto darkening helmet. And for $100 bill, that thing has lasted me 3 or 4 years. It recharges with the arc, or you can put it out in the sun. That thing has never gone dead on me in 3 to 4 years. And for $100, $25 a year, I'll go buy another one. I used to have a solar powered one, and what a piece of crap. It just didn't last. It was a Hobart one, and it just didn't make it, you know. But anybody who's ever welded with an auto darkening hood doesn't ever want to pick up another style to weld unless they have to, because it's so nice. And you can adjust the shade, whereas a non-auto darkening one, you can't adjust the shade without changing the lens. So, you know, I guess those are pretty much my things. I'm going to BS with you guys a little bit more here because we're going to go outside. I don't have any, I got to let that glazing putty cure. You know, that's my favorite tool when I have to haul something. And so is that skid steer trailer. And that snow plow, and that snow plow, and that truck, and that snow plow. My skid steer when I ever have to move material or load things. that tow behind air compressor with a 4-cylinder gas motor in it for blowing out sprinkler systems or sandblasting. That thing is the cat's meow. And for putting in yards and having to put straw down because I don't own a hydro seeder, that guy right there, my straw blower, the hose isn't attached. It's got 11 horse Honda on it, which is a tad underpowered, but that sure beats shaking straw. It gives you a little bath of straw choppings. Tend to get a little itchy using it, but it cuts your time in a tenth of what it would to do anything normally. And of course, I guess if I didn't mention my shop, and we start down there and go all the way down here, and I've had a few people say, wow, your shop is huge. Well, the actual shop starts at that block firewall and goes this way. And inside there used to be offices for a trucking company, and then my buddy's dad turned this building into an apartment, of which is no longer an apartment, it's just storage inside. So that area over there is just, you know, bathrooms, kitchen, stuff like that. It's not nice at all. I mean, it's been pretty tore up. You know, this place was kind of like Animal House for a while, so, but that's all over with. Everybody's gone and married, so we have the shop from there all the way down. But in reality, when you look at the shop door there, just to the left of that door when you go in is where the paint mixing room is. So really from that door down is all the space I have, and only 50% of that is wide open. The other 50 from the skid steer, probably the bucket back, is all enclosed where those lawnmowers were, where I showed you. So everything's just kind of mishmashed up in there. So don't get jealous when you think I have a big shop, guys, because I really don't. It's bigger than some, but it's really kind of getting to the point where it's so tight in there that it's hard to do anything. So that's my tool video. We'll stick this on a separate one here. Of course, I'm working on that van today, but we're not going to lump all this together because this is 20 minutes worth. So I guess that's probably it for now. If I come up with anything else, I'll let you know. So thanks for the tag, and I don't know right off the bat who I'm going to tag at this point. I'll have to go back through my memory banks and figure out who hasn't been tagged, and I'll put it in the description line of who will be tagged. So thanks for watching, guys, and we'll catch you later.